Hi, I'm Steve Burnett with Live Fire Drill Cards, and I'm joined here today with Dave Spaulding of Handgun Combatives. Dave, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're here today to bring a new product to your attention that we collaborated on. It is called a Practice Pack. It's basically a set of drills with skill cards that Dave has personally written to go with each drill. Maybe you could just give the people just a bit of insight into what you would like them to get out of this, or kind of why you collaborated with us on it.
Well, I think the first thing you got to understand is why you're going to a training class. Because the biggest mistake people are going to make here, Steve, is they're going to buy this training pack and they're going to think, okay, this is all I need, I'm trained. You're not. Forget it, you're not. What you need to be able to do is understand that a drill does nothing more than reinforce a skill. And you go to a training class to achieve those skills. But when you leave, you can go back and practice these. What I wanted to do with this pack was just make a reminder.
Right.
Okay, I read the pack, I'm thinking back to Dave's instruction in the class. Now I remember it, let's go. Drills reinforce skills. They're not skills in themselves. Okay, just because you're good at a particular drill doesn't mean you're a gunfighter. That just means you have a set of skills that you can adapt and apply in a gunfight. You need to know why this particular skill benefits you, because if you're truly going to learn, master, and anchor a skill to a level of automaticity,
right,
there's going to be time, effort, expense, ammunition, all that stuff going into it.
I took your advanced combatives pistol course, 2-day course, and in thinking about even this idea then, one of the things that I came to appreciate was how much you put into communicating to the students the reason behind the techniques. The footwork, especially, was just a huge learning curve for me. Instead of just running around and point to point, there was very specific ways that would make sense in combat.
There has to be a reason behind things. Right. And I've heard it said for so many years, and initially I believed it because somebody of stature said it, but in a gunfight, move.
Right.
What the hell does that mean?
Where?
Move where? Movement must be done with purpose. In a gunfight, if you're trying to move to gain advantage, well then you can't wind up and get ready to go. You just telegraph what you're doing. There's got to be a way to go that instantly. Yep. So what we do in what I now call kinetic combat pistol, because the class is about movement, is we show people how to move physiologically, biomechanically efficient.
Okay.
And that's the thing about handgun combatives classes that a lot of people will not get from this packet. Right. I have put almost 4 decades of my life into the research of this. Mm-hmm. It started in 1976 when I went through the Basic Police Academy, when I interviewed my first person who had been in conflict, who had been in a gunfight. He was a World War I veteran, a veteran of the trench and tunnel warfare of World War I. And I sat there and listened to this guy for an hour and a half. And I felt like I'd been hit with a flashbang grenade. I left there and I'm like, man, when I learned in the academy, didn't prepare me for this. And it started me on a journey where I just interviewed everybody I could who had been in armed conflict. Mm-hmm. World War I, World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans. I actually talked to a couple of the Rangers from the Black Hawk Down incident. I got the opportunity to sit down with them. A lot of the young guys that are coming back from the global war on terror, and of course lots of cops, because that's where I spent my life, but also a lot of felons, because they have their story to tell, and they don't think like you do. But hundreds and hundreds of people, that's the kind of feedback that I have gotten back over all of my interviews that has gone in to what I call handgun combatives. Plus my own experiences, because, I was a cop in a pretty active area. I went after all the active assignments. I did SWAT. And, I went undercover. I was in a surveillance unit. So I was always looking for those things that would kind of put me in the thick of it. So I've got some of my own experiences, combined it with the stuff that I've learned from these people. And I've come to realize that you can't teach a class on gunfighting.
Right.
What you teach and where you come into play is you teach skills we have seen used time and time and time again. I cannot tell you how you'll use a particular skill or whether you'll even use a particular skill. But I can tell you that your fight's going to unfold. You're going to look at it and you're going to have to grab this skill, that skill, that skill, scat. You're going to have to put them together and you're going to have to put them in one smooth motion.
Do something.
And that
Right.
is what these cards will help reinforce.
Now that you know what this is all about, if you're like me, you're thinking one of two things. One is, if I go take training with Dave and I get this at the end, I've got something I can then practice and remember what he taught me. Well, that's a really, really good use of this pack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, if you're like me, and this was available and I hadn't quite signed up yet, but I was gonna, I wouldn't mind shooting the drills just to go through the mechanics and the experience, knowing that I'm not gonna have all these insights without a personal training experience. It helps me to have done some of this, I think, beforehand, because you're learning so many other things that just feeling a little bit comfortable that you went through the drill a couple of times is not terrible.
Mm-hmm. You still got to get training. You have to understand the reason behind the drill. And then, the truth be told, when you get to the point that you do this drill on demand, cold, now we got something.
Okay, good. You really can't lose if you buy it before you take training from Dave or after. But definitely take training from Dave and get one of these practice packs, and you will be on your way to some brand new personal bests and a lot of areas of skill building.